The Dating Show, brought to you by olderdatingonline.com.
Welcome to The Dating Show, and today we're talking about activities that you could do on your date. It's always difficult deciding what you want to do. You want it to be fun and interesting and different and exciting, so you can agonise for a long time over what you are going to do on your date.
I think on your first date you probably want to keep it quite straightforward, quite simple. The general advice is you go maybe for a quick drink, half an hour to an hour, assess whether you actually like that person, and then on the second date obviously you can move it on and do something possibly longer, slightly better. But sort of third, fourth date, you're probably going to be looking at different things to do, and we're looking at opera and also ballet as possible dates to go on. I mean, the question that's sort of going around in my head at the moment is, if you're stuck in an opera with somebody, you can't really communicate with them, but it's a nice event to go to.
So a lot of people haven't experienced opera for the first time, and you might find that when you're talking to your partner that both of you have never been to an opera, so it's something that's quite memorable for the two of you to share together. So it could be a good idea to go on an opera, and I think it's a bit of a false idea that you're going to be spending hours and hours together not saying anything, because there are quite a few intervals in the opera. There's normally at least 2, so you've got some time to talk to each other in between the different acts and sort of get to know each other a bit better then.
And I think also it's something to give you to talk about as well, isn't it?
Yes, yeah.
You, rather than just sit there and talk to each other, if you've both watched something for 2 hours, you can then chat about what you've seen.
Yeah, so if it's like your first time, for example, you can talk about what you liked, what you didn't like, what you understood from the plot. It might be a good idea to turn up to the place early and get a brochure or a programme of what's going on and read the plot through, so you have a better understanding together of what's going on, and because they're not always in English. So.
Exactly. I've sort of never been to the opera, as you probably have gathered, and you went, I think, on Monday, Tuesday this week?
Yeah, Tuesday I went on, yeah.
Do you have to go quite smart?
No, actually the opera has changed a lot over the last 30 years, I suppose, and people wear just what you would normally wear to go to the theatre, like in the West End or something like that. So I've seen people wearing jeans and jumpers, and then everything to sort of like black tie and ball gowns. Depends on the time of day you're going as well. If you're going at sort of like a matinee, people are going to dress casually, whereas if it's in the evening and it's a more sort of formal event, it's perhaps like the opening night or the closing night or a formal sort of press event, then people are going to be wearing cocktail dresses, suits, a lot more fancy and like much nicer clothing.
Yeah, and I'm just sort of wondering as well, is it, when you mentioned about the foreign languages, is it easy to follow if you are, not the brightest spark in the building like myself?
Well, you're in luck, because the lyrics are translated into English and they're projected on a little screen above the stage, so you can read what's going on as you're listening to the opera and watching what's going on stage as well. And the actors are always very good and very capable of demonstrating what's going on with their body language and the way that they act out the scenes as well.
And having been to the opera on Monday, as we said, having experienced Tuesday, is it a good thing to do you think?
I personally...
Would you, if somebody was asking you on a date, would you go, opera, different and interesting?
I'm personally a big fan of classical music, so I wouldn't never say no to the opera. I've been to the opera in other countries where it's not broadcast in English at the top of the screen, so I find it very enjoyable myself. But a lot of my friends that I've taken to the opera for the first time, it's a new art form for them and they really enjoyed it. They might not be classical musical lovers, but they enjoyed the sort of like theatrics. The sets are always very beautiful and the costumes are always very beautiful. That's also something people enjoy looking at whilst they're at the opera, and the singers are amazing.
And I'm just wondering about ballet, which I'd like to go. I always like to go and sort of see about maybe Swan Lake, the most famous one. But ballet as well, do you think that's as good as opera, or to go on a date with? Yeah,
I think ballet is just as good as any opera. It's a lot of them are in the same sort of venues, the same sort of orchestras that do these sort of events. So they're great ideas, I think.
The Dating Show, brought to you by olderdatingonline.com.